Do you ever feel like something's missing, even when you have it all? We're constantly told to be happy, yet true contentment often feels out of reach. We chase success, possessions, likes, and fleeting moments of pleasure, but somewhere deep inside, a quiet question lingers. Is this really it? Today we're diving into the timeless wisdom of Socrates, a man who lived over 2,400 years ago. And yet, his piercing insights about life, virtue, and self-examination hold an uncomfortable mirror up to our modern world. What if happiness, as we've been taught to pursue it, is not only fragile, but perhaps even a trap? What if true fulfillment demands something radically different from what society constantly whispers in our ear? Let's take a journey through Socrates' philosophy of happiness and uncover why his ancient truths might just hold the key to authentic living in our restless, overstimulated age. Socrates lived in a world without smartphones, streaming platforms, or Instagram feeds. And yet, if he were alive today, he would probably shake his head in knowing recognition. Because the human tendency to chase after pleasure, to seek the next rush, is nothing new. It is as old as humanity itself. In the modern world, happiness has become a commodity. It is sold to us through glossy advertisements, subscription packages, curated lifestyles, and endless notifications. Happiness is just one click away, the system tells us. Buy this, wear that, upgrade now, and you'll finally be satisfied. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This kind of happiness rarely lasts. We get the dopamine hit of a new phone, a like on social media, or a vacation selfie that gets attention. And then what? The rush fades. The emptiness returns. We find ourselves chasing the next fix, like a thirsty wanderer drinking salt water. The more we consume, the more parched we feel. Socrates would have called this false happiness. Pleasure is not evil, he'd admit, but mistaking it for the foundation of a good life is a dangerous illusion. In Plato's Gorgias, Socrates compares those who live only for pleasure to a person with a leaky jar. No matter how much you pour in, it never fills. The more you indulge, the more you need, and the cycle never ends. Now think about today. Our digital lives are structured like those leaky jars. Infinite scroll, endless notifications, quick rewards designed to hook us, but never to truly satisfy. The system thrives on our restlessness. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. We confuse stimulation with happiness. And Socrates challenges us to ask, if our happiness disappears the moment the stimulus is gone, was it ever real to begin with? If Socrates were dropped into the 21st century, he would probably be the most annoying person at the dinner table. Why? Because he wouldn't let us get away with surface-level answers. He'd ask questions that cut to the bone. Why do you say you want happiness? What do you mean when you say you're fulfilled? If you're so certain of your path, why does dissatisfaction still haunt you? Socrates' most radical idea wasn't about pleasure or politics, it was about self-examination. His famous line, "The unexamined life is not worth living," isn't a catchy slogan, it's a warning. Without knowing ourselves, our motives, our desires, our flaws, and our values, we are condemned to live blindly, chasing shadows we mistake for substance. And here's the sting. Modern life is designed to keep us distracted. Busyness has become a badge of honor, productivity a moral virtue. We fill our days with noise, meetings, feeds, and notifications, leaving little room for silence or self-reflection. But ask yourself this: is our constant busyness simply a subconscious strategy to avoid uncomfortable truths? If we stopped and examined ourselves deeply, would we discover that much of what we call happiness is built on shaky foundations? Socrates would argue that genuine happiness is not something you stumble into. It is something you cultivate through the discipline of knowing yourself. And that process is not always pleasant. It requires facing your contradictions, questioning your assumptions, and sometimes realizing that the life you're living is not truly your own. This is why his philosophy feels so unsettling. It doesn't offer quick fixes. It demands courage to pause, reflect, and admit that maybe, just maybe, we've been looking for happiness in the wrong places. Here's a more piercing question. Even when we think we're pursuing happiness, are we actually choosing for ourselves? Or are we simply following the scripts society has written for us? Socrates often warned against the tyranny of the majority, the idea that what most people believe isn't necessarily true, and what society celebrates isn't always good. He questioned politicians, sophists, and even friends, exposing how often human beings adopt opinions without truly understanding them. Fast forward to today, how many of our desires are genuinely ours? Do we want the luxury car, the perfect body, the curated Instagram lifestyle because they fulfill us, or because society tells us they define success? Here lies another uncomfortable truth. Modern happiness is often conformity in disguise. The algorithms of social media dictate what we should value. The consumer economy pushes endless images of success. Even our sense of identity is often constructed through external validation. Socrates would hold up the mirror and ask, "Are you truly free if your happiness depends on what others approve of?" This is not a question meant to depress us. It is a call to reclaim autonomy, because the more our happiness depends on external validation, the more fragile it becomes. A bad comment, or a failed deal, or a trend that passes, and suddenly the foundation of our joy crumbles. True freedom, Socrates suggests, begins when we root happiness in something unshakable, something that no crowd, algorithm, or critic can take away.
So what then is this unshakable foundation? Socrates points us to virtue. In his dialogues, he often insists that happiness is inseparable from living a life of justice, wisdom, courage, and temperance. Not because these virtues guarantee pleasure, but because they align us with what is truly good. Now, in 2025, the word virtue feels old-fashioned, even unfashionable. Happiness is marketed as freedom from restraint. Do what you want, buy what you want, be whoever you want to be. Virtue, on the other hand, sounds restrictive. But here lies the paradox. Freedom without discipline leads to emptiness, while discipline rooted in virtue leads to genuine fulfillment. Think of courage, for example. In Socrates' time, courage was not about fearlessness, but about the strength to face reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Today, courage might mean facing uncomfortable truths about our dependence on external validation, or resisting the addictive pull of consumerism. Temperance, likewise, is not about denial, it's about balance. Imagine how different our relationship with technology, food, or even ambition would look if guided by temperance rather than indulgence. Justice, too, expands beyond legal systems. For Socrates, justice is about harmony, in the soul, in relationships, in society. A life built on injustice, even if filled with pleasures, is ultimately fractured. And wisdom? Perhaps the most Socratic of all virtues, the recognition of our own ignorance. In a world flooded with information, wisdom reminds us that knowing facts is not the same as understanding truth. Here's the surprising link. When we orient life around these virtues, happiness emerges not as a fleeting emotion, but as a byproduct of integrity. It becomes less about how we feel in the moment, and more about the kind of human beings we are becoming. So, How do we take these insights and apply them to our modern lives? How do we escape the trap of modern happiness and build something more lasting? Socrates would never give us a list of 10 easy steps to happiness, but if we listen carefully to his philosophy, a kind of blueprint emerges. First, practice self-examination. Dedicate time each day to reflection, not just about tasks, but about motives. Why did I want that? Why did I react that way? Does this desire align with my values or with society's script? Secondly, challenge your assumptions. Socratic dialogue was built on relentless questioning. Apply this to your own beliefs. When you say, "This will make me happy," ask, "How do I know? For how long? At what cost?" Thirdly, redefine success. Instead of measuring success by wealth, status, or appearance, root it in virtue. Ask, "Am I more just, more wise, more courageous, more balanced than yesterday?" Fourthly, embrace discomfort. Growth often hides in discomfort. Socrates himself lived simply, was mocked, and ultimately executed for his ideas, yet he never compromised on truth. He sought discomfort not for its own sake, but as the furnace in which authenticity is forged. Lastly, play the long game. Modern culture glorifies instant gratification. Socrates teaches us that authentic happiness is a long journey, not a dopamine hit. It is cultivated slowly, like tending a garden, through daily choices aligned with virtue. This blueprint is not glamorous. It won't sell on a billboard, but it carries the power to transform happiness from something fragile and fleeting into something enduring and resilient. Socrates lived a life that, by modern standards, might look unimpressive. He had no wealth, no fame, no possessions. He walked barefoot, wore the same cloak year after year, and annoyed his fellow Athenians with endless questions. And yet, when faced with death, he refused to abandon his pursuit of truth. He chose principle over comfort, virtue over survival. That is the ultimate uncomfortable truth. Authentic happiness is not about having more, but about being more. It is not about escaping pain, but about aligning life with what is good and true. So, the next time you find yourself scrolling endlessly, chasing fleeting highs, or wondering why happiness feels so elusive, remember Socrates' challenge. Know thyself. Live with virtue. Seek truth, not approval. Because, in the end, happiness is not a product to be purchased or a feeling to be captured. It is the quiet strength of a life examined and a soul at peace with itself. If this exploration of Socrates' uncomfortable truths about modern happiness sparked something in you, don't let the reflection end here. Share your thoughts in the comments. What does happiness mean to you, and how has it changed over time? If you found value in this, give the video a like. It helps others discover these ideas. And subscribe to Echoes of Reason, where we dive deep into timeless philosophy to illuminate the struggles of modern life. Until next time, remember, happiness is not a trap when it's rooted in truth.